Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Okay. The Greeks believed could become wise for using reason. Reason is the ability to think clearly. Greek philosophers developed logic, a step-by-step method of using reason to think through a problem. A philosopher named Socrates challenged the leaders of Athens by asking his students to use reason and logic instead of following the directions of the leaders of Athens.
All right, let's do some logic right now. Mr. Plog goes to bed too late. The next morning he wakes up, he's very tired. He then walks his dog much later in the morning. He then is not prepared for when his students show up to class. So that's a step-by-step thing. What is something that we could describe, or what is something that we could say logically I could do to fix that problem? Let's go back to the beginning. What did I do wrong? Logically, step by step, what could I do to fix the problem that I have? Aubrey.
You could go to bed earlier.
Ding, 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 ding. You used logical step by step, right? We saw what happened as an outcome. We go back to the beginning using our logic saying, well, Mr. Plog, if you just went to bed earlier, you wouldn't have that problem. Exactly, right? That's what these philosophers are trying to get people to do. It's something that we try to get you to do in school every day, right? That's why it seems kind of like, no kidding, right? Okay, next reader. We're going to start talking about Socrates now. Nathaniel, go ahead.
Socrates was a retired stonecutter. As a young man, he fought in the Peloponnesian War and served as a
in the boule.
In the boule. He devoted the last years of his life to philosophy. Socrates believed that we all could find truth by thinking logically and trusting our inner voices. Socrates told his students that wisdom begins in wonder.
Right. Wisdom begins in wonder. So we say wisdom is being wise or obtaining or getting knowledge, right? Now, wonder is thinking, right? Like, I wonder what my fiance has planned for dinner tonight. So what he's saying is that knowledge comes from thought, thinking, or questioning, right? Now, if you're wondering when number 2 is going to show up in your exit ticket, I would pay attention because it's coming up pretty quickly here. Go ahead. Ooh, I don't have any readers. All right, May.
Okay, so Socrates did not teach in a school. The old philosopher drifted out around Athens, engaging his students in arguments about justice, bravery, and ethics.
Good.
Socrates taught by asking questions that forced the students to use logic. When teachers ask questions, they are using the Socratic method of teaching. A priest called the Oracle of Delphi pronounced Socrates with the wisest men in Greece. Socrates concluded that while others professed knowledge they did not have, Socrates knew that little he knew. Socrates asked many questions, but he gave few answers.
All right, so I'm going to stop you right there. So we're talking, you're doing great, May, but we're talking about Socrates, right? So if you've gone to this school for more than this year, in fact, we've even done it this year already in some of your classes, you've done what's called a Socratic seminar, right? It's where we ask some overarching questions and then you kind of talk it out yourselves, right? We're not directing the conversation at all besides trying to keep you on point, and you're trying to share your opinions and see if maybe you can come up to a common understanding. right? That is entirely, there's a reason why it's called the Socratic seminar. It is named after Socrates. That was his approach to learning. So when it says that a priest called him the smartest man, this oracle is supposed to have a connection to the gods. Socrates said he didn't believe that because, according to him, he didn't know anything. And that's why he wanted to reach out and ask people so many questions. Now, what they found out was that a lot of other people who thought they were smart thought false things. They believed things that weren't true. But Socrates knew, hey, I don't know anything because I'm just a man. So I'm going to ride out. I'm going to go as far as I can, trying to get as many people's opinions as I can, and then I can make my own conclusions. So if you're looking at number 2 in your exit ticket, really the idea about Socrates being smart isn't that he knows everything. It's that he knew how little he knew, and he wanted to figure stuff out, right? What a very selfless way of thinking. Next paragraph. Would love a new reader. This is a pretty easy way to get a torch ticket and some participation. Emmanuel, thanks, man.
In a series of dialogues, a dialogue is a conversation between two people. Athens has recently lost the Peloponnesian War to Sparta, and the humiliated leaders of Polis did not want a critic like Socrates. Changing their authority, Socrates called himself a gadfly. A gadfly.
I think you're a little far down, Emmanuel. Scroll up. We're actually on the first paragraph on the second side, so it should say Socrates did not write.
Oh, right here.
Mm-hmm.
Socrates
That's all right, man.
didn't write any books because he believed in the purity of rhetoric. Rhetoric is a speech that's used to persuade someone. What we know about Socrates comes to himself mostly from his student Plato. Plato wrote down his teacher's ideas.
Okay, you cut out at the end, Emmanuel, but I appreciate it. So Socrates believes in rhetoric. He believes in speech. Writing books to him means nothing because he's trying to find knowledge. So why would you write about it when you're trying to find it all the time, right? Kind of makes sense when you think about it like that. Plato is going to be his student. That's going to be the person we're going to talk about tomorrow. Now, Plato, I've got a whole bunch of things that I can talk about and show you, tell stories about him, because he wrote literally, I swear, every single thing about his life down. He's the exact opposite in that regard. Okay, so we'll talk about Plato tomorrow. But remember, Socrates, for him, it's all about this to try to find the truth. Rhetoric is speech. Okay, I'm going to ask for a new reader. If I can't get one, I'm going to cold call. I think it's a lot better to just get a torch ticket. Yassine, nice. Going to be Athens recently lost.
Athens had recently lost the Peloponnesian War to Sparta, and the humiliated leaders of the Polis did not want a critic like Socrates, challenging their authority. Socrates called himself a gadfly. A gadfly is a pest that bites livestock. Socrates tried to use his criticism of Athens to sting the Polis into recovering the golden age that existed before the long war.
And what they're really saying here is that he's like a pest that's like biting, trying to get people to realize things, right? Like, hey, why is things this way? Let's talk about this. Let's figure out, let's get to the bottom of this. Rather than just letting people go on with their lives and not question anything, he's always going to be that one nipping at people's heels, kind of agitating them, right? Now, this is a picture of what Socrates looked like. He was a rather unique looking individual, big beard, upturned nose. He was usually, at least from what people say, he was a rather large man, and he didn't bathe hardly ever. So imagine that there's a guy who's wandering around this. This is called the marketplace of Athens, or the Agora. He's wandering around this place with a really disgusting looking toga, probably. He hasn't bathed in a really long time. He's an old guy. And then, not to mention, there are a lot of people, young people, because young people are usually into new ideas like this, that are following him around, taking in every single word that he's got. Like, he's teaching them. So the idea is that people are going to be like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, he is doing everything he can to agitate us. Now he's walking around in a disgusting looking appearance, and he's having the young people, or for older people, our children, following him around, learning from him. They're going to be really scared of him. He agitates and irritates a lot of older people in Athens. Let's figure out what happens. Let's go with the Athenian leaders. Who do I got who's going to pick it up? Kira.
The Athenian leaders threatened to bring Socrates to trial on 2 charges. Socrates refused to honor the gods. He was also charged with corrupting the youth of Athens by teaching the young people to trust their own judgment instead of following the rules of the city leaders. Most Athenians expected the 70-year-old Socrates to leave Athens before he arrested. But the old philosopher reminded that in Athens stood trial and was found guilty.
Okay, so let's read this last paragraph. Isabel, we're going to do it. And if you don't have your exit ticket up, I highly recommend that you do for this paragraph, right? He's put on trial, thrown in jail, and he's sentenced to death. Now he has a whole bunch of people around him, and they're going to try to get him to escape and just leave Athens. And really, that's what the people of Athens want him to do. Had he just admitted his guilt, they would have probably let him go or just put him in jail for a while. But he thought he was doing the right thing, so he refused to take responsibility. So let's see what happens when they try to get him out of prison. Isabel, go ahead.
Socrates refused to participate in the plan to escape from prison. The philosopher calmly accepted his death by drinking from a cup of poison hemlock. The custody participants of execution of his time, Socrates believed that he must obey the law, even if he disagreed with it.
Okay, so what happens is they show up and say, hey, Socrates, let's go, man. We've got the door open. Let's get out of here. We'll send you to some other city-state that'll be more accepting of you. And Socrates is like, you know what? I was put to death by the laws of Athens. I don't agree with it, but they were the laws that were put here. So I have to abide by what they say. Also, when that happens, he becomes someone who dies for his beliefs, which usually inspires a lot of other people, right? And I think that's another reason why he did it. So when you're asked what happened when they tried to free him, he said no. Now, if you look at the last question, it asks you, in your opinion, is it a good thing or a bad thing to question everything like Socrates? Now, he got to pursue and become aware of so many things and knowledge because of his pursuit of asking questions to anybody who would listen to him, right? But in the end, it got him killed. So you need to think to yourself, was it a good thing or a bad thing that he was doing that? And that's entirely your opinion. You're just going to have to tell me why you think that. Now, I'm going to stay on here for a few minutes, but it is 9:30. I cannot keep you here any longer. I am going to play a quick YouTube clip if you would like to stay. It's about 3 minutes long. It's called 8-Bit Philosophy, and it explains who Socrates was. I think it's hilarious. And I know Mr. Grooch loves it too. He used to play it all the time. So if you like old video games, it has old video game graphics in it. Otherwise, you are free to go. Have yourselves a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen.